Bear down, Chicago Bears fans. We got a 53-man roster. We are ready for this season, this 13-4 season that I keep telling you is about to happen. I'm even going to show you some details that will tell you why the Chicago Bears might just have a 33% shot at going to the Super Bowl based on their performance in the preseason. Now, if you like this type of content, make sure you hit the like button on the way in. We're going to kick this off. There were some interesting things that happened during the cut period. And I apologize that I was not here yesterday. I had everything ready to go, and lightning by me, I guess, obviously you guys know the storms that we had. Lightning struck and took out a power line right by my house. And there was charred ashes everywhere. Unbelievable sort of occurrence here. It was just wild. So let's kick this off. And by the way, there's two things that the Bears did to fix the defensive tackle position. But first, let's go through the roster and let's talk about where we are right now. First up, quarterbacks going into the season. Brett Rippon was released. Austin Reed was released. Caleb Williams and Tyson Bagent are the starter and backup for the roster. At wide receiver, we're coming in with DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze, Tyler Scott, DeAndre Carter, and Velus Jones Jr. However, we did see that Velus Jones did have a little bit of opportunity to perform in the running back position. So running backs are DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, and Travis Homer. This does seem to be in line with exactly what we're thinking here. Caleb being the starter, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Roma Dunze being the starters, DeAndre Swift being the starter, Khalil being number 2, Roshan number 3, Travis Homer number 4. Velus Jones probably will get a lot of rushing opportunities, but for right now, in the wide receiver position. Also, we have offensive line. This probably shows us who our starters are, and we know what position. So Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones will be the tackles. Tevin Jenkins, Nate Davis are the guards. Ryan Bates would be the center. Then we have Bill Murray, who earned his spot. I think he was the highest performing lineman on the team. Coleman Shelton, Doug Kramer Jr., which that was a nice addition right there. I liked what Doug Kramer was doing in the preseason at the center position. Provides the team with a little bit of flexibility. Coleman Shelton, Ryan Bates, more natural guards. Matt Pryor and then Karan Emagaji have made the roster. Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, and Mercedes Lewis. Now, there was a little bit of controversy over Stephen Carlson not making the roster, despite the fact that Stephen Carlson was showing out in preseason, making catches, doing a great job of pass blocking. So he was showing that he belonged in the NFL, and the Bears ended up releasing him. But this story ends happily at the end of this because he is on the practice squad. Now, Mercedes Lewis, in the meantime, will be the guy. Mercedes Lewis, in the final year of his contract, was kind of brought back because I think the Bears really wanted the confidence in knowing we have a veteran here. So I think that this is I think this was probably the right move, even though my heart, like many other people, Stephen Carlson was just really having a good preseason. So defensive line, Montez Sweat, DeMarcus Walker, Andrew Billings, Darrell Taylor, Dominique Robinson, Chris Williams, Daniel Hardy, Zach Pickens, Austin Booker, Jervon Dexter Sr. Now, if you notice something, the one area where this seems a little weird was Jervon Dexter down here at the bottom of the list. And the reason why is DeMarcus Walker, which we're going to get into in just a little bit when we start talking about DeMarcus Walker. Then at linebacker position, you've got Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Jack Sanborn as your starters, with Noah Sewell and Amin Agbanamigma as the backups. Noah Sewell, I think a lot of people thought that he didn't really earn his position here in the preseason. That Amin Agbanamigma obviously did, but a lot of people were looking at Micah Baskerville. Micah Baskerville had a great preseason, and I think a lot of people really wanted to see Micah Baskerville here instead of Noah Sewell. That did not happen. However, he also ended up on the practice squad, so we might see him on the field after all. Defensive backs, Jalen Johnson, Jaquan Brisker, Kevin Byard, Tyreek Stevenson, Kyler Gordon, Jonathan Owens, Elijah Hicks, Jalen Jones, Terrell Smith, Josh Blackwell. Really strong lineup here of defensive backs on the team. And then special teams, Cairo Santos, Torrey Taylor, and Patrick Scales. Now, that leads us to something that happened along the way, and that was Kari Blasingame is back as fullback after being released from his contract for $1.55 million. Now, the way that this played out is Kari was released, and then Patrick Scales was put on the injured reserve, and then Kari Blasingame was brought back at the same salary that he was making before, which was an interesting move by the Chicago Bears. And hey, if you're using the system the way it's designed, there you go. So Kari Blasingame is on the roster, just not showing up as a running back, or was not showing up in the running back Chiron that was put up a little while ago by the Chicago Bears. So that's the lineup. That's the roster that we have. By the way, you probably see one of these guys over here was going to be the long snapper. So we'll see how this we'll see how this plays out. But Kari Blasingame back in the fold after a 1 hour absence. Absolutely stunning. Now, this is where it's going to get kind of interesting now. The Bears terminated the contract of Kari Blasingame, brought him back with the same thing. And in the meantime, something leaked out about Darrell Taylor in the acquisition of Darrell Taylor. And how will this help Demarcus Walker? Well, here's the thing. When you go back and you look at some previous tape on Demarcus Walker, much of it was about him being a defensive tackle and how well he was as a disruptor in defensive tackle, because he's strong enough to be on the interior at defensive tackle. And he is a nightmare of a matchup for guards. Tackles handle him a little bit better because they're used to that and they're a little more agile. But Demarcus Walker was an incredible interior lineman when he was playing for Tennessee, moved to defensive end when he came to the Bears. Well, with the acquisition of Darrell Taylor, that means that, and this was said by Matt Eberflus, that there are going to be obvious sets, where Darrell Taylor will work the outside and Demarcus Walker will move to the inside. So I think what they're doing is, they're looking at Demarcus Walker as the guy on the edge, but as this team sort of gets into shape and into condition, on obvious passing downs, Demarcus Walker will move to the inside to give the Bears another disruptive force at the defensive tackle position. Now, he also was and guys, we should know this at this point. Demarcus is a big time run stopper. So there is no drop off between Demarcus Walker and Andrew Billing when it comes to stopping the run. So Andrew Billing, take a breather. Demarcus Walker slides over. Darrell Taylor comes in at the edge, or Austin Booker comes in at the edge, and then Demarcus Walker stays in the game at the tackle position along with Javon Dexter. So it's an interesting sort of lineup. I think this is going to be one of those moves that we don't appreciate right now. Like we're looking at it as, well, maybe we'll see what happens here, but I think this is going to change dynamically what we see statistically from Demarcus Walker over the course of this year. Now, I could be wrong. You never know how this you never know how it plays out, how hard these guys play. But I think we've liked Demarcus Walker. We wanted to see a little bit more from him. He has a more natural position at the defensive tackle position. So now the Bears are shoring up their defensive tackles with Chris Williams, and also in a rotation, Demarcus Walker. So having Demarcus on the field for extended periods of time is not a bad thing. This guy is a tough player. So I think the Bears are probably better by using Demarcus Walker, as they are trying to do right now. Now let's talk about magical numbers here, because we're all looking for some kind of crazy thing that tells us what this team is going to look like. The preseason is only as a minor indicator of what your team is going to look like. You get an idea of how they're going to play, but there are some points that matter. The last 6 teams to finish with a preseason point differential of plus 60 have all made the playoffs, and 2 made the Super Bowl. The Bears finished this year plus 68, which is a big number. The Bears have been showing out in preseason. I think it's unexpected. Most people are considering them to be 8.5 wins, kind of middling at best, lucky to even get a shot to make the playoffs, stuff like that. Look, I think that this entire league right now is sleeping on the Chicago Bears. Could things go badly and I could be wrong? Sure. There's any opportunity. These are professional athletes going against other professional athletes. There could be, we could be looking at a problem. By the way, if you haven't already, hit that like button on your way in. But I think, in my estimation, that this should be the outlier kind of statistic here that reminds you guys what I keep trying to tell you, in that I really think the Chicago Bears team is just a lot better than what people are giving them credit for. So last 6 teams with this kind of differential all made the playoffs. 33% of them went to the Super Bowl. So I guess we can say at this point there's a 33% chance that we see the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl, based on a very limited, wild set of odd data that really doesn't mean anything. But turns out it does mean something when you look at it from this context. So again, guys, I think the Chicago Bears are going to have just an incredible season. This is one of those moments where I really get excited when I see what the product on the field is. And by the way, when I talk about the project on the field, let's talk about the project not on the field. And that is the practice squad. This is the practice squad. And I think if you're a fan of the Chicago Bears, you really kind of have to like this. The one piece that was missing off of this was Keith Randolph. And I think a lot of people were looking for Keith Randolph to make this squad. But Micah Baskerville, Theo Benedette, Stephen Carlson, Byron Cowart, Jake Curran. Byron Cowart and Jake Curran both had really good preseasons. Micah Baskerville, obviously, Stephen Carlson, Colin Johnson. I'm not really sure about, I'm on the fence about that one. But of the available on the team, I think he represented that better option. So at defensive back, Wendell Johnson, linebacker, Carl Jones Jr., defensive lines, Jamry Chroma and Deshaun Mallory, Tarvarius Moore at defensive back. Austin Reed, the quarterback, is still on the roster, on the practice squad. Reddy Stewart did make it. I think we all liked Reddy Stewart and his 2 interceptions. And then Ro Torrance at defensive back. So the Bears look like they're going to have a nice group of people from which to draw upon. Probably want to see a little more strength at the defensive tackles, at the defensive line position. But you got 3 guys, Byron Cowart being one of them, Jeremy Chroma and Deshaun Mallory. And then for the offensive line, you're picking up 2 additional offensive linemen. So I think you got a little bit of depth at the lines, just in case. And you can't do your you can't bring Austin Reed in every single time at the emergency quarterback position. So just for reference here, your emergency quarterback, DJ Moore. So in the event something catastrophic were to happen to both Caleb Williams and Tyson Bagent, and they could not play in a game, then DJ Moore would take over as quarterback. And that, of course, would move up Tyler Scott to the that would move him up into the active rotation. So interesting things. And look, I don't think we'll ever see that, but I mean, you never know. There could be that moment where something goes just completely awry, and that's the way it happens. And then Austin Reed comes in, and then you pick up an emergency quarterback that you have to put on the practice squad. Then you're going to have to put another quarterback on injury reserve. So we'll not get into that right now, but a pretty good lineup. Like, I really like what I see on the practice squad. There's probably, again, Keith Randolph, somebody like that. I maybe would like to have seen them on here instead of maybe Deshaun Mallory, something like that. But otherwise, I don't really have a problem with this lineup. Tarvarius Moore had a lot of playing time. We saw him last year, and he made the practice squad. So that is a testament, in my mind, to the to how much better this team is. Colin Johnson, same thing. Like, I think this is, when you look around, this team is improving to the point that players that were starting, the players that were starting are now. Let's see, Chicago Bears long snapper. Patrick Scales having back surgery. So Matt Overton. It looks like Matt Overton might be the guy. that they're bringing in. Yeah, Patrick Scales is going through something right now. So, um, who is going to be the long snapper? Da, 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 da. Oh, Scott Daly. Scott Daly is being brought in as the replacement right now. He's on waiver claims, so we'll see whether or not he's picked up. So we'll know something about that shortly. Right now, Scott Daly looks like he's going to be that guy. And then finally, we got another piece of information that came out, and the NFL approval of private equity investment could help the Chicago Bears plan for a new stadium. So, um, uh, here's what's happening. The teams, the NFL has finally relaxed a few of its strict rule sets around team ownership, formally approving the entry of private equity funds into the equation. NFL owners have voted at a special meeting in Minnesota to allow stakes in individual clubs by investment groups, an emerging trend in the financial world that the league was content to let other pro sports take the lead on, while it carefully took notes and considered how it might integrate the practice into its booming business for the good of all 32 teams. The primary area a team can grow is through local facilities, stadium facilities, that kind of things. While questions remain about how many more potential buyers might be able to get in the game beyond the initial group of approved firms, it's clear as always that the NFL would not have gone down this road if it didn't think it could benefit its booming business with the stated goals of generating $25 billion in annual revenue. Bears management voted in favor of the proposal, but they have not committed to any plan, much less the money and how it will be spent. It's a step in the right direction for the NFL, but again, we just passed the vote yesterday, and we need to spend some time learning how it operates. If the Bears decide to try to raise money from private equity investors, they could use it to help build a stadium anywhere, including Arlington Heights. However, the sale would also be limited to 10% of the team's estimated value. It could be helpful, but it's not the answer to everything. The Bears' contract with new food vendor Levy runs for 5 years with the option of 5 more after that, an indication that the developments in the Bears' relationship with the Soldier Field are not likely to happen anytime soon. So we don't have an update, but we do have a tiny update in the stadium saga. What does it mean largely? It means that the Bears will be able to ask the government for less funding than what they're looking for. And Kevin Warren seems to be, there was an interview with Kevin Warren. He seems to be pretty good about it. He feels like perhaps this might be an opportunity to continue negotiations for that downtown thing. I don't think they're serious about Arlington Heights yet. I think they are hedging, of course. Ultimately, getting something built at the site of Soldier Field is, I think, paramount to the team. They want to stay downtown, but with the situation being what it is right now, I do believe that there might be, just maybe, um, um, a little give and take happening here, and that give is the Bears coming up with private equity and asking for less, which I think is probably I think at this point it's a non-starter for JB Pritzker, but a little bit less of a financial burden on the state might end up becoming the enticement that's needed, or at least it might kick off another round of negotiation so that we can get closer to the actual number instead of just kind of sitting here trying to figure out and come up with exactly what it is that's going to happen from there. So, maybe, just maybe, this is all for the best right now. So that's it, guys. We have our 53-man roster. We know exactly who's who, what's what, and where we are. Kari Blasingame, welcome back to the roster after being cut to make room for Patrick Scales, to be put on the injured reserve. So there you have it. That's where we are. The Bears, guys, I'm telling you right now, 13-4, this Bears team is going to shock a lot of people. Remember, they won the preseason by plus 68. Every team over plus 60. The last 6 teams all made the playoffs in that year. 2 of them went to the Super Bowl. I'm telling you guys, this is a team not to be slept on, and it will be a mistake for people to take this team as a win for granted. The Bears are going to win a lot of games this year. There's going to be a lot of happy fans. There's going to be a lot of number 18 jerseys around this city over the next 12 months. But that's all I got for now. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to bear down and F Green Bay. I'm not allowed to say F. I can't even say it out anymore. I can't believe that's happening. But anyway, F Green Bay. And we'll talk to you again very, very soon.